Okay, let's dive deep into a truly remarkable source today. We're talking about picture brides.
Right. Women who made this almost unimaginable journey across the Pacific, early 20th century.
Yeah, some as young as 14,
Yeah.
leaving everything behind to marry men they only knew from photographs.
Just think about that. Thousands of miles on these huge ships heading towards a future they knew almost nothing about.
And the source material you shared with us for this deep dive, it's just extraordinary. It's not one woman's story.
No, it gathers so many experiences, the thoughts, the fears, the hopes, all into the single voice, this collective we.
It feels incredibly intimate, like a shared consciousness, almost. And just to be clear for you listening, this entire deep dive is based solely on this unique material you provided.
And our mission really is to use that collective voice as our guide. We want to understand the journey, the physical and emotional parts.
The challenges they faced, building lives, communities.
Exactly. The shifts in identity for them and for their children, too. And then, ultimately, the devastating impact of the wall and the forced removal, all through their eyes.
We're aiming to cut right to the heart of this history, focusing on the lived experience in this text. A shortcut, in a way.
Precisely. So let's start where their journey began, on the boat.
Who were these women?
The source gives us such vivid details. Many virgins, really young, like we said, some just 14.
Physically small, long black hair, flat, wide feet. That's how the source describes them. And from really diverse backgrounds in Japan.
Yeah, some from cities, maybe in stylish clothes, but many more from the countryside, right? Wearing patched kimonos.
From mountain villages, fishing towns, and the driving force for so many was economic, purely economic.
Escaping the rice paddies. The source mentions families where sending a daughter was the only way to, feed the younger ones.
Or maybe older sisters had been sold to geisha houses. It wasn't just about finding a husband, it was about survival.
A desperate hope for something better. But they did come with dreams, didn't they? Oh, absolutely. The source talks about dreaming of the husbands in the photos, of new sandals, silk.
And that ultimate symbol of American prosperity, they imagined a house with a chimney.
Which makes the reality of steerage even more stark. The source, it doesn't pull any punches there.
Filthy, dim light, narrow metal racks.
Stained mattresses, wet floors, the air just stale. What's striking is that contrast, isn't it? The bleak reality versus those persistent dreams.
Even with nightmares of the rice paddies haunting them.
And one of the first things they did, packed in like that.
Pulled out the photos. Compared the husbands to be.
Right. Handsome young men, the picture showed dark eyes, full hair, smooth skin, good posture.
Dressed in Western suits. Looking like, I don't know, idealized versions of men back home.
But the journey itself quickly became, overwhelming. Seasickness was rampant.
Constantly ill, praying for help, just turning green.
The ship's movement felt like earthquakes, making them long for their mothers.
But the source also highlights their skills, doesn't it? Alongside the vulnerability.
Exactly. These weren't helpless women. They knew how to cook, sew, tea ceremony, flower arranging.
Sit quietly for hours, write poems, chop wood, farm work, incredible manners.
Some could walk miles carrying 80 pounds, immense practical skills, yet totally hypeless against the sea.
And their ideas about America, gathered from rumors, guidebooks, is quite a mix.
Oh, a real blend of wonder and apprehension. The source details these sometimes bizarre beliefs.
Americans ate only meat, were incredibly hairy.
Even on their chests, that was a big one. Trees were enormous, plains vast.
American women, loud, taller than their own men. The language, impossible.
Customs seemed utterly strange, reading books backward, soap in the bath, blowing noses on cloths and putting them back in pockets.
Even color associations were opposite. White's opposite wasn't red, it was black. You can feel them entering this world where everything felt alien.
So they carried fear, definitely. Fear of being laughed at, spat on, not taken seriously.
But the hope was powerful too. It had to be better than marrying a village farmer.
Right. Rumors promised women didn't work in fields, plenty of food, firewood.
And those American men, supposedly gentlemen, holding doors, tipping hats, ladies first.
That mix of terror and idealized hope is what kept them going.
The interactions on the boat give us some fascinating glimpses too. Their first encounters with whites.
Yeah, the source mentions Sikhs, Russians, Chinese, Gypsies, German tourists, a Spanish priest, but focuses on Charles.
The English professor in first class who spoke Japanese. For many, the first white person they'd ever seen.
And their questions for him, so revealing. Did Americans have a strong animal odor? He actually let them lead in.
How hairy. He showed his arms. hair on chests. He blushed.
Were the savage tribes gone? He said, well, they'd been taken away.
True that American women didn't kneel or cover mouths? He sighed. Sadly, yes.
Did men and women dance cheek to cheek? Only Saturdays, he said. And he even taught them the foxtrot.
It just brings that cultural chasm to life, doesn't it? Their curiosity.
And the source also reveals the personal secrets some carried. Finding a lost father, maybe, or leaving a child born out of wedlock.
Guilt for choosing their own path, but determination too.
And on the boat, that isolation, it led some to form relationships with deckhands, despite being married.
The source gives their justifications. It was the way he looked at me. Or he had a nice smile.
Telling themselves it was just practice, to be forgotten. It shows the complex emotional state they were in.
Other stories too. A woman whose baby, conceived on the boat, actually resembled her husband.
A suicide after a night with a sailor. One who fell for a missionary but chose her fate. Always wondering, what if?
These individual tragedies woven into that collective, we are so powerful.
And it all leads to that moment of arrival. The source describes it with such devastating clarity.
The men on the dock, knit caps, shabby coats.
Bearing no resemblance to the handsome young men in the photographs.
The photos were 20 years old. The letters written by professional liars.
What hits you is the reaction. One woman covered her eyes, wanting to go back.
But most straightened their kimonos, smoothed their hair.
Walked down the gangplank, telling themselves, this is America, there is no need to worry.
And that final line for this part.
We would be wrong. Just devastating. It sets the stage for everything that follows.
Absolutely. So, stepping off that gangplank, life begins. On the margins.
The source describes settling where they could. Edges of towns, labor camps.
Sometimes seeing those chilling signs. Do not let sundown find you in this county.
And that first English word they learned, it tells you so much. Water.
Shouted when fate in the fields. Husbands taught them it could save your life.
And the tragedies mentioned. Yoshiko, dying of heat stroke, too shy or didn't know the word. Another drinking gitch water, getting typhoid.
Other early words. Simple commands from the boss. All right. Or the harsh, go home.
Language learning tied directly to survival and labor.
They were constantly watching whites, wondering about them.
Why mount horses from the left? How do they tell each other apart? Why so loud?
Hanging dishes on walls, not staring. Bracing for the worst, sometimes finding kindness.
Trying so hard to please. Yes, no, sir. Or just silence. It was a strategy, wasn't it? Understand and conform.
And the work itself. Immense.
Kicking plums, sacking onions, crating berries, hoeing, cutting asparagus, weeding. The physical toll was brutal.
Hands blistered, bleeding, knees burned raw. Backs, the source says, would never recover.
Some worked frantically, like in the rice paddies, or terrified of being sent back. Others struggled.
Weeping sometimes, cursing, trying to escape mentally back to Japan.
And the truth about the husbands came out. Not silk traders, fruit pickers.
Living in tents, barns, fields. Not the houses with chimneys.
They came because America supposedly offered a better life, doing work no self-respecting American would do. That was the reality.
And how were they seen by the bosses? It's revealing.
Admired, in a way. Strong backs, nimble hands, stamina, discipline, docile. Short stature, ideal for stooping.
But that perceived docility led to exploitation. Propositions in the fields.
Bosses whispering words. Husbands' friends offering money. And that chilling detail. Accepting a gift, but not reciprocating.
Could mean violence. A sliced fingertip with pruning shears. It underscores their vulnerability.
And violence wasn't just personal, it was systemic, aimed at the community.
Farm shacks sprayed with buckshot. Chicken coops torched. Fields burned right before harvest.
Destroying their earnings. The source says this changed the husbands too. Sleeping with shoes on, hatchets nearby, guard dogs.
The collective voice asked that question. Was it a mistake? Coming to this violent and unwelcoming land.
Seeking alternatives, some moved to suburbs, service work.
Maids, housekeepers, cooks, gardeners, husbands worked outside, women inside, learning from their women, as the source puts it.
And they learned more than just lighting stoves or making beds, right?
Oh, yeah. Faucets, telephones, sounding cheerful on the phone.
But also the ways of wealthy households. Elaborate table settings, lighting cigarettes, curling hair like Mary Pickford, washing lipstick stains.
And maybe learning, or at least watching, how to talk, argue, deceive, and keep a husband happy in bed. A whole different world.
They became confidants, too, hearing deep, darkest secrets.
Covering for mistresses, sleeping with them when husbands were away, offering reassurances before they met lovers.
But despite that intimacy, they were disposable, dismissed without warning.
Two pretty inept language problems, dropping things, not taking orders, not getting on with kids, or just overhearing something negative about themselves.
And then those encounters with the men of the house, difficult, sometimes devastating.
Asked into the study, not knowing how to refuse. Being touched, led upstairs.
And that profoundly sad reflection, sometimes weeping not from fear, but because it had been so long since we'd been held. That lack of affection.
Waytown, though, that offered a contrast, a haven.
Working in family businesses, lunch counters, noodle shops, groceries, laundries, familiar customers.
Buying Japanese goods, tea, soap, incense, pickled plums, seaweed. Dropping where shoes actually fit.
Community life revolved around the bathhouse. Gossip central. And the fortune teller, Mrs. Murata, giving advice.
If you leave him now, there will be no other. That kind of thing.
The source says J-Town felt more Japanese than the village we'd left behind. A safe space.
But outside J-Town, the strategy was invisibility.
Dress like they did, walk like they did. Avoid large groups. Make themselves small.
The advice was clear. If you stay in your place, they'll leave you alone. Resist by not resisting.
Just avoid them. Some dreamed of leaving America altogether. Argentina, Mexico maybe, saving money.
And the source asks that unspoken question. Who would do the work if they left? Wash the carrots, scrub toilets, change sheets.
Who would sing and weep for them, turn the other cheek, only a fool, the source suggests.
Highlighting their essential yet undervalued role, which is why many stayed. Folding away the kimonos, putting aside that former identity.
Then came raising children, a whole new level of challenge, often under just incredibly harsh conditions.
Births happening anywhere, under oak trees, beside wood stoves, dusty camps, remote farms.
Guided only by the housewife's companion sometimes. Kerosene lanterns, barns on straw, alone in orchards, back of trucks, dirt floors.
Behind barbershop curtains, pressing rooms, even brothels. Quick births, long labors, easy, or leaving lasting pain. Secret sometimes.
Medical help often non-existent. Superstitions played a role. Husbands' reactions varied wildly, too.
Cursing them. You did this! Swearing never to touch them again.
Only to kiss them that night. The source includes such heart-wrenching details.
One husband gambling away earnings during childbirth. Many women back picking berries the next day, baby tied to their back.
So many children they lost track of years. Names given reflected tradition, circumstance, sometimes sad stories.
Tameji looked like a brother back home. Aikichi looked like the neighbor husband wouldn't look at the wife after that.
Sueko, meaning last. Husband just says, oh, another one. Attempts to stop births failed. Health consequences were severe.
Uterus slipping out after too many births. Losing babies, burying them in fields, moving on before graves could be marked.
And raising the children while working, it's almost impossible to imagine.
Laying infants in ditches, furrows, baskets, on mats in the fields.
Nursing between rows, tying active ones to chairs, strapping them to backs in winter ears, freezing, bleeding.
Leaving them in gullies with sticks. Shouting warnings. Dogs, ease, don't wander off.
And that agonizing choice. Keep working when a child cries, Mama can't come. Their voice fading.
Then brushing the dirt from their hair at the end of the day, waking them up.
The children themselves, diverse, stubborn, willful, quiet, obedient, intuitive too, sensing parents' moods.
And that clear preference for sons, seen as better gain on the farm.
Fed more, sided with, dressed better, taken to the doctor while daughters were treated at home.
The expectation, daughters leave, sons provide in old age.
Husband's involvement, minimal, according to the source.
Never changed diapers, washed dishes, touched a broom. Read the paper while wives worked late.
Strict rules about sleep, rising, muttering about farm work, rarely speaking to children, forgetting names.
Kids spoke to fathers through mothers. Tell Papa. The burden on the mothers was immense.
But the children still had imagination, dreams under peach trees, of possessions leaving home.
Comparing their lives to those strange, pale children they imagined, living indoors, knowing nothing of nature, longing for that other world.
They learned harsh lessons, watching parents kill chickens, animal mating, a cat eating kittens, overhearing parents' intimacy.
Asking profound questions. How do you know when you're dead?
They found ways to cope, little rituals, objects for luck, secret words, favorite trees.
Growing salt for a hobo, spiders bringing luck, small comforts.
Parents taught manners, humility, not taking handouts, not bragging, and warnings.
Starting with, don't be loud like the Americans, but also prejudice against other groups.
Stay away from the Chinese. Watch out for the Koreans. Be careful around Filipinos. Never marry an Okinawan. They weren't seen as real Japanese.
That points to the complex social hierarchies, the internalized biases even within immigrant communities.
And more children lost. Disease, accidents, spider bites, mule kicks, disappearances, falls, kidnapping, moonshine explosions, drowning.
Commemorated yearly. Feast of the Dead, Buddha's in the land of bliss now.
Life with kids in J-Town meant crowding, 8, 9, to a room behind the shop.
Children work too, chopping carrots, stacking apples, deliveries, laundry, cleaning boarding houses.
Sometimes seeing disturbing things. Mistaking a dead man for someone praying.
Waiting in parks for parents. Hearing those warnings. Don't talk to strangers, study hard, don't end up like me.
School, often their first big step outside the family or J-Town, and the source describes it as, well, stark.
Sat in the back with Mexican kids. Timid voices. Didn't raise hands, didn't smile.
Huddled at recess, whispering their secret, shameful language. Last in line for lunch.
English was a struggle, knees shaking when called names.
6, table, Chinky, Harlem, based on mistakes or just how they looked.
But it's fascinating. They learned English fast too, didn't they?
Very fast, naming animals, reading signs, and crucially, getting what they wanted. 1 chocolate malt, please.
They absorbed the new language quickly.
But at a cost, a significant cost. The source stresses the loss of Japanese language, culture.
One by one, old words vanished. Flower names, counting, praying. Living in the new language.
Still struggling with L's and R's sometimes. Japanese school, often just a way to avoid work.
Yet the source notes, they spoke Japanese in their sleep, suggesting something deeper remained.
And the American names they took. Doris, Peggy, George, Esther, Violet.
Sugar, Mac, Paul, Edison. So many. The source gives these brief, revealing stories behind some names.
A teacher's mother's name. Looking like a Chinaman, dark skin, being lazy, perfect posture, father's bankruptcy, Goodwill shopping, a mother being a whore.
Complex reasons, adaptation, aspiration, hardship, all mixed in.
Physically, they changed too. Became almost unrecognizable to parents. Taller, heavier.
Loud beyond belief. Daughters adopted an American manner, swaying hips. Sons became enormous.
Food preferences shifted. Bacon and eggs, milk, ketchup. Refused chopsticks.
Spoke perfect English like the radio.
Yeah.
Reacted to Japanese customs, bowing to the kitchen god, rolling their eyes. Mama, please. That cultural divide widening.
And perhaps most painful, the shame. Children feeling shame towards their parents.
Their hats, clothes, accents, hands, faces, crowded homes.
Longing for those idealized American parents. Office jobs, mowing lawns on Sundays.
Avoiding parents at school, temple, festivals. Laughing when they bowed. Absorbing that external prejudice.
And this struggle with identity, it led to real pain.
Alienation.
The source mentions suicide, quitting school, gangs, fighting.
Fighting others, let's go beat up some Filipinos, and fighting themselves, you goddamn Jap.
Social exclusion, no parties, no band instruments, no valentines, no dancing. Keeping heads down.
Ignoring names, accepting old textbooks, last in the yearbook. Identifying as Buddha-heads, taking that term for themselves, a kind of defiant solidarity.
They learned how to survive in that prejudiced world. Essential lessons. Which homes, which barbers were safe. Physical limits. Segregated spaces, YMCA colored days. Pantages Theater, never.
Calling restaurants first. Do you serve Japanese? Survival tactics. Don't go out alone. No judo. Fight back.
They respect you when you're strong. Finding protectors, hiding anger, fear. No, of course, I don't mind.
Accepting that things in this world do not always go as you plan. Crucial knowledge for navigating daily life.
Yet, despite it all, they dreamed. Diverse dreams for the future.
Stark contrast to farm labor. Marrying a preacher to avoid farm work, owning a farm, artist, refrigeration, bridges, piano, fruit stand.
Secretary, wrestler, state senator, hairdresser, doctor, gangster, star.
Parents, the source says, saw the darkness coming, the rising tensions. But let them dream.
And then, December 7th, that abrupt, terrifying shift.
Immediate rumors. Men being taken away. The banker, the barber, fisherman.
Initial denial. Right, it's happening somewhere else, not to us. Not the quiet, simple women.
But the reactions were immediate. Staying inside, shades drawn, radio on.
Removing names from mailboxes, bringing shoes inside, keeping kids from school, bolting doors, whispering, husbands drinking more.
That initial deceptive calm when authorities didn't show up right away.
Then, cautiously, back to farm work. But J-Town kitchens became news hubs.
Sharing news. Raids, arrests, cut phone lines, confiscated documents. More names added to the list daily.
Men told, grab your toothbrush. Often the last anyone saw of them. Conflicting theories about where they went.
Mountains deported, shot, dismissing rumors yet spreading them, dreaming they were the missing men, the psychological toll.
Fear escalated, anonymous threatening letters, threats from Filipino workers, violence.
Housekeeper held at gunpoint, laundry set on fire, knowing, as the source says, this was only the beginning.
And that overnight change in neighbors. Chilling.
Kids who waved now ran. Customers vanished. Boycotts. Insurance canceled. Banks frozen. Milk stopped.
Children running like deer. Old ladies clutching purses, shouting, "They're here!" Suddenly, they were the enemy, utterly unprepared.
Fueled by accusations in the papers. Baseless claims.
Japanese men springing into action, signaling planes, kids bragging. The fifth column, fear.
Guarders with radios. Houseboys as agents. Truck farmers and underground army. Planning bombings. Poisoning reservoirs. Walking into markets with dynamite. The paranoia was intense.
Which led to that heartbreaking act, burning belongings.
Trying to erase enemy ties. Bank statements, diaries, altars, chopsticks, lanterns, photos, wedding kimonos, dolls. Burning letters from home.
Questioning themselves, why cling to strange foreign ways? Believing that made them hate us. Internalizing the blame. Disappearances accelerated daily. Produce distributor, judo instructor, silk importer, grower, agent. Husband's fear was palpable.
Sleeping in clothes, polishing shoes obsessively, needing wives close, nightmares. Searching their pasts.
Looking for that obscure crime. A toast, a remark, charity, false accusation, customer dispute, even their face. Was it my face? Devastating. Nightly poring over papers with husbands. Clues, rumors of work camps, listening to war bulletins. Always bad news.
Hearing calls for citizens to inform on the fifth column. Anyone could be a spy. Your butler, your gardener, your florist, your maid.
Fear became deeply personal. A known berry grower dragged from bed at 3 a.m. Others taken in cars, handcuffed. Houses searched, while wives served coffee and pie.
The source even notes wondering what kind of pie, how they took their coffee. Grounding the huge event in tiny mundane details. Husbands lay awake, agonizing.
Older sons staying out all night. Wives didn't ask. Husband said, let them have their fun while they can. A sad acceptance.
January brought formal orders. Registration. Turn over contraband. Guns, bombs, cameras, knives, flashlights, flares.
Travel restricted 5 miles. 8 p.m. curfew. The source notes a longing for a forbidden midnight stroll, even though they weren't night people. That loss of basic freedom.
Fear of being turned in by a phone call. Neighbors raiding barns. Staying inside.
Husbands gave instructions. When I'm gone, or if. Practical advice. Icemen, customers, birth certificates, truck maintenance.
And money. Sell the tractor, greenhouse, merchandise. And warnings.
Believe nothing you hear about me. Trust no one. Don't tell the neighbors a thing. Trying to prepare wives for survival alone.
Rumors about their ultimate fate were terrifying. Conflicting.
Only non-citizens. Children stay. Separated. Businesses confiscated. Liquidate now. Sterilized. Deported. The unknown fueled intense anxiety.
They tried coping. Positive thinking, rituals, ironing before midnight, hoping to get a name off a list, buying war bonds, singing perfectly.
But that persistent unease remained, like they'd forgotten something vital. More husbands taken daily, seemingly random reasons.
The hardest part, not knowing where they were, waiting in panic, empty bed, searching the house, just in case.
Eating leftover chocolate, seeing husbands in dreams. The dog worried most, sleeping on slippers, growling. The source acknowledges complex reactions. Secret relief when another's husband was taken. Shame at the thought. Some admitted not missing husbands who'd worked them like men, kept them pregnant, just holding their breath, waiting.
Paradoxically, that fear made them feel closer to the husbands they still had.
Giving them the best food, ignoring faults, not turning away in bed, controlling anger when husbands were unkind.
Driven by fear, how survive alone, feed children, pay rent, protect trees, fix tractor, calm us down.
Constantly reminding themselves, the source reveals, he only married me for extra help on the farm. A stark reflection on that original bond now overshadowed by dependency.
Suspicion grew, informers among them. Paid $25 a head.
Stories circulated, husbands turning each other in over affairs, business disputes, a wife denouncing her husband for his mistress.
And that dark story of Ruriko's husband. Mysterious disappearance. Rumored Korean, undercover, beaten, found in a ditch. Family vanished overnight. Cats fed, water boiling, rumors followed. Down south, new house, new car. Paranoia in a community under duress.
Spring arrived. Stark contrast to the grid. More men gone daily, trying to stay busy.
Finding gratitude in small things, a friendly nod, hot rice, a child safe in bed. Working fields, but everything felt different. Hearing every noise.
Onatsu's story. heart pounding at strange cars, sometimes imagining him gone, feeling relief from the waiting, that psychological exhaustion.
Nature seemed to mirror the fear. Cold wind, dust, thrashing trees, toppled gravestones, rattling roofs, dogs running off. Violence continued. Chinese laundrymen beaten, barn torched, chaos reflected.
Then the final order, leave. Stories of whole communities taken, fear mounting, they were next.
Buying supplies. Driven by conflicting rumors of the destination. Sleeping bags, coats for mountains, or padlocks, vitamins, bandages, moxa for the desert, snakes, thieves, no doctors.
Sewing knapsacks for kids, packing rice in case we get separated, telling children it was temporary, talking about coming home.
Spring landscape blooming, poppies, larks. Eerie contrast to preparations. Older kids returning from cities, schools.
Told helping was a contribution to the war effort, a way to prove loyalty. Junkmen offered pennies for belongings, neighbors, strangers asked for things.
Selling hastily, or giving away cherished items, reminding themselves, must not get too attached.
Final days, paying bills, thanking loyal customers, crops ripening in fields they'd abandoned, missing fortunes, still hoping.
Intervention, church, president's wife, a mistake, meant for others. Writing notes to teachers, instructions for tenants, leaving offerings, visiting cemeteries, remembering lost children.
Walking vineyards, prepping orchards, last laundry, shuttering businesses, sweeping, packing, gathering children, leaving from every town in every valley and every city up and down the coast. The scale of it.
The departure itself. The source captures that unsettling contrast. Nature unchanged. Trees, rivers, insects, crows, sky. Hen lays an egg, plum falls. Dogs run after them.
But the human world watched. Neighbors peering, cars honking, strangers staring, a boy waving, a cat hiding, then looters breaking in, destroying homes.
And the things people carried, or did.
Yeah.
So specific, mundane, tragic.
Suitcases with Paris stickers, washboard, etiquette books, sea bags, boxes, left without paying bills, cleaned intensely, salt piles for purification.
Orchids for tenants, Buddhist shrine in a pocket, savings in a boot. Left without family members, grudges, diseases. Kids practicing ABCs, speechless, heartbroken, pining for horses.
Looking for neighbors, confessing secrets into wells, feeling punished, killing chickens, grieving, life passed by, chanting sutras, mumbling apologies, rushed by husbands, leaving graciously, insisting on Japanese names again.
Alarm clocks ringing in suitcases, purses left behind, unplugged irons, venereal disease, tiny details. Laughing brass Buddha, rice under floorboards, sandals on porch, silver mirror left with a neighbor. Humanizing the impersonal removal.
The children's experiences varied, innocent, confused, clinging to siblings, suitcases of candy, toys, bouncing balls, fighting.
Slings, cowboy boots for snakes, thinking he was camping, hiking, circus, beach, roller skating, just worried if streets were paved.
Heartbroken, missing graduation, baffled by math, relieved about tests, white feathers, bird books, tin pails, rag dolls, jump ropes, worrying about pets, blankets, chalk.
Some skipped and laughed, the source notes, leaving without looking back. Shielded by youth, perhaps.
And then, for the townspeople left behind, a disappearance. Houses boarded, mail overflowing, businesses closed. Fiji, Mikado, Imanashi, Harada.
That mysterious sign, God be with you until we meet again. People pressing faces to glass, seeing nothing.
The mayor assured them, safe place, refused to say where, sparking questions, safer than here. Theories flew, sugar beet country, new identities, jail, island. Skeptics wondered.
Official notices on poles tattered, faded. Only instructions to all persons of Japanese ancestry legible. Townspeople's memories vague.
Weren't for us. In a rush, writing too small, a waitress recalled seeing concerned Japanese standing quietly by them. Indifference, distraction, maybe avoidance.
The town's children seemed most affected, according to the source.
Talking back, refusing homework, anxious, afraid of dark, seeing Japanese kids with eyes closed, asking questions, where are they? School there, what about their stuff?
A whole second grade thought classmates were lost in the forest. Eating acorns, leaves, cold, shivering, dead. Teacher calling roll for empty desks. Crossing guard missed them. That sensitivity contrasts with the adults.
The source shows complex perspectives among townspeople. Some more than a little relieved. Read the papers, heard rumors of weapons, uncertain of neighbors' loyalty.
So much about them we didn't know. Made me uneasy, trying to hide. Contrasted with others, seeing them as good people.
Best tenants. Friendly, polite, so clean. Lived American too, not a Japanese touch anywhere. Division and conflicting views.
Animals discovered. Canary, koi, dogs distressed. Townspeople fed, adopted them, dogs dreaming of families, a poignant detail of broken bonds.
A few Japanese remained. Gambling boss in jail, expectant mother in hospital, the woman in the asylum. Tragic story. Children died in fire, husband suicide, lover left her. Only saying, water, go home, the survival phrases. A boy dying of TB, physical remnants.
Gradually, physical traces vanished. Notice is gone. Gardens overgrown, tools rusting, plants dug up, houses looted.
Japanese items in pawn shops, homes, lanterns, scrolls, rugs, chopstick ornaments. Some didn't want to know where they came from. Better not to know, ignoring reality.
Hopes for return faded. Nobody said it would be forever. Looking for them, wondering if it was their fault, not petitioning, not helping.
Recalling last encounters, Mr. Mori friendly, then gone. Stories of Japanese crying as they left, lingering guilt, unanswered questions.
Brief communication from camps, letters, postcards. Okay. Asking about things left behind, that startling note. Darling, I'm all right. Recipient's world going dark.
Townspeople demanded answers. Voluntary, duress, destination, why not informed, innocent, guilty, truly gone. Some suspected hiding, plotting, letters faked, disappearance a ruse, continued distrust.
The mayor's final message tried to provide closure, justification. Patience urged. Disloyalty existed, time short, action needed. Claimed they left willingly without rancor per the president's request. Spirits high, resettlement proceeding.
Extraordinary times, battlefront, things seen, unseen, life goes on. The official narrative overriding trauma.
Normalcy returns slowly. Summer heat, school ends. Looking for new help. Filipinos, Hindus, Mexicans, Chinese laundrymen. Often viewed negatively.
Crowded living, laundry outdoors, kids wild, drinking. Townspeople longed for their quiet Japanese neighbors. A striking, maybe biased comparison reflecting the town's own disruption.
Rumors of the trains carrying them surfaced. Ancient, dusty, ghost trains at dusk. Through mountains.
The timekeeper glimpsing a woman's face, wondering, was she one of ours? That lingering spectral presence.
Autumn came. No Japanese festivals. People began to forget. Faces, names blurred.
Children forgot. Spoke of them in past tense, forgetting they were ever there, surfacing only briefly in dreams, then fading entirely. The final disappearance. From space to memory to subconscious trace.
A year passed. Traces gone. Spoke of them rarely. Hearsay from the other side of the mountains. Cities and deserts. Picking beats, shivering children from forests.
The source concludes with finality. They were out there somewhere, probably not meet them again in this world.
That's just incredible. To absorb the sheer scope of experience in this single collective voice you shared, the journey, the work, building community, raising children between cultures.
Right, through the shock of prejudice, the fear, the removal, and that profound emptiness left behind.
What's so powerful about using this unique source is how it lets us step into that lived experience. It's not just generalized history.
Exactly. It gives voice to individual struggles, loss of identity, forced assimilation, resilience, but also the deep pain, the injustice. It humanizes it in a way textbooks often can't.
So this deep dive, drawing right from that powerful material you provided, hopefully gave you a rapid, in-depth look, maybe some aha moments.
A deeper understanding, touching on those universal themes, immigration, identity, prejudice, loss, but through their specific collective eyes. A shortcut to empathy, maybe.
As you reflect on this, think about the power of that collective memory, even when individual details fade.
And consider what it truly means for a whole community to just disappear from a place, to then exist only as hearsay, or a fleeting dream for those left behind. What's lost, not just for them, but for the place itself, when people become only a memory to their former neighbors.